Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, Mmmm. It is Sunday, 10:30 a.m. in the morning. This is Sunday Brunch. You are at the right place. I'm solo right now, but Russ Whitfield will be joining us in a minute, and it is so great to see all of you here this morning. We have Jerry Minoza. Good morning to you, Jerry Minoza. I hope you are well this morning. Welcome to Sunday Brunch. And we also have Retro Nerd Girl. Retro Nerd Girl's here with us this morning. Hello, Retro Nerd Girl. It's such a pleasure to see you here on Sunday Brunch as always. And of course, we have Tom Jr. Jackson, our moderator, my collaborator, certainly very good friend. Good morning to you, Tom Jr. Jackson. I don't know how you are up right now, Tom, after that marathon stream of 5 hours last night and the 5 hour stream the night before. Tom, you are certainly burning that midnight oil. I sure hope you are well this morning. And yes, this is Positive Fandom. As I said, Russ will be joining us in a minute when he's able to, but I am here in the meantime, and there is so much going on in entertainment right now. I can't wait to get started. Certainly, I have a lot to talk about with you guys, and I'm sure you have a lot of opinions as well. One of the first things that I absolutely have to talk about and share with all of you has to do with someone, as we've spoken about before, who I had no idea we'd be talking about again. Just everything has changed so much regarding Henry Cavill. And of course, Henry Cavill, whom we all love as our Superman. He's our Superman. That's how I think about him now. He is our Superman. And honestly, I am so excited that he is on board as Superman. Of course, we were talking about this last week. Well, everybody's been talking about this. And of course, the news that we got recently over the last few days. And of course, everybody was wondering, how on earth is Henry Cavill going to do all these acting jobs? Because God knows all these years when he wasn't doing Superman, he certainly didn't have any free time in a sense because everybody wanted him for their shows and for their projects. And this is not a surprise. We all want to see more and more of Henry Cavill. I've been enjoying him and his role as Geralt in The Witcher. So for those of you who are Witcher fans out there, I'm sure you are enjoying that as well. So certainly it's something to think about. And we have learned that Henry Cavill will be leaving The Witcher and it's going to be recast. So there really is no surprise in this article. Certainly, I'm not surprised by it. Certainly, he has to be able to have time to film Superman, and Superman isn't one of those fly-by-night kind of shoots. It will probably take him well over a year to do this project. And hello to you, Mikey Lito. Good morning, Mikey Lito. I tried to get onto your live stream this morning around 10:10, but I had to check out, obviously, because I'm doing this show. But guys, check out Mikey Lito Live's channel, Mikey Lito Live. He's doing a review, and I believe it is Barbarian 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mikey Lito, but it is good to see you this morning, Mikey Lito. I hope you are well. Guys, do check out Mikey Lito's YouTube channel. Absolutely. And we have Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says, toss a boomerang to your new Witcher. Absolutely, Gary. I couldn't have said it any better. As we all know, Henry Cavill is going to be leaving The Witcher as Geralt. He won't be there anymore, and he's going to be recast. Now, he looks amazing in this photo, doesn't he? He looks amazing as Geralt. In fact, he brought Geralt alive for me. I know the game was popular. I know that. But honestly, he was stunning as Geralt. He made Geralt come alive for me. I just loved him in it. There were some fighting scenes with him as Geralt that I'm just so incredibly impressed with. And here in the article, it says he was leaving after season 3, which is a lose for Netflix to lose Cavill. Honestly, if I were Netflix, I don't think I would be that happy to hear that. Just between you and I would be very upset. I would understand it. He's going to be replaced by Thor's actor, the brother of Thor's actor, Chris Hemsworth, Liam Hemsworth. as Gary has pointed out, we are certainly throwing, we are certainly throwing a boomerang to the new Witcher, guys, because it's going to be played by Liam Hemsworth, who is a brilliant actor and certainly easy on the eyes. But I must be honest with you. He is not exactly the same as Henry Cavill. Retro Nerd Girl. Retro Nerd Girl says Henry's news is delightful, though it will be sad not to see him in The Witcher season 4. He's back as Superman now. And it is true. He is back as Superman. I think I'm fine with him being back as Superman, even if it means he has to go ahead and leave things behind. Cavill says, quote, "My journey as Geralt of Rivia has been filled with both monsters and adventures, and alas, I will be laying down my medallion and my swords for season 4. Cavill announced on Instagram, "In my stead, the fantastic Mr. Liam Hemsworth will be taking up the mantle of the White Wolf. As with the greatest of literary characters, I pass the torch with reverence for the time spent embodying Geralt and enthusiasm to see Liam's take on this fascinating and nuanced of men. Liam, good sir, this character has such a wonderful depth to him. Enjoy diving in and seeing what you can find." Now, honestly, clearly you can tell that Cavill is a fan. He is a man who likes science fiction fantasy with those type of noble words and noble comments, certainly from a man who you absolutely have to have so much respect for. Who else could put things so elegantly and wonderfully as he releases his and finishes his reign as as Geralt? And good morning to you, by four to Hobbit says, "Hey, well, hello to you, by four. It is a pleasure to see you here this morning." We also have Norwegian Kryptonian. Hello, Norwegian Kryptonian. I hope you are well this morning. Welcome to Sunday Brunch. And Mikey Lito confirms, yes, it is a quickie review of Barbarian, which I watched thanks to the Cinemike. Now, the Cinemike is another YouTuber who I have worked with before. Certainly, you can see some of his reviews I did with him on the Oscars in 2022 on the PGS. So certainly do check out Mikey Lito's lives channel for this Barbarian review, as well as the Cinemike. And we also have Happy Traveling, who says, "Good morning." Well, good morning to you. Happy traveling. Now, Retro Nerd Girl also says, "I hope he will be able to play Sherlock in the future Enola Holmes projects." Now, yes, that would be great. Gee, Retro Nerd Girl. I thought I might have seen some announcements in Deadline about Enola Holmes Part 2, where he does appear, I think, as Sherlock again. Let's see if in the following movies he'll come back for 3 and 4 if Millie Bobby Brown decides to sign on to this project. From what I understand, Part 2 actually has more of Cavill in it. And I don't know about you, but I can't get enough of Henry Cavill. So I'm totally fine if he makes his presence known more and more in that project. And I think Liam Hemsworth says, "As a Witcher fan, I'm over the moon about the opportunity to play Geralt of Rivia. Henry Cavill has been an incredible Geralt. I'm honored that he's handing me the reins and allowing me to take up the White Wolf's blades for the next chapter of his adventure. Henry, I've been a fan of yours for years and was inspired by what you brought to this beloved character. I may have some big boots to fill, but I am truly excited to be stepping into the Witcher world." And there you have it, guys. Certainly, these are such gentlemanly words from two men who are oh so wonderful. Wouldn't it be amazing if Henry Cavill, well, I'm not going to speculate about anything right now, but let's just say that I do like how they have passed the range and the torch from one incredible actor to another. I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. Now, Thalia Myers with us. Hi, Thalia. How are you? She says, Good morning. Well, good morning to you. Certainly great to have you here. John Ware Jr. is here. Hello, John Ware Jr. John Ware Jr. says, "We know there is never enough Henry Cavill for you. You are absolutely right, John Ware Jr. Certainly, but I will take what I can get in the meantime in any project he does. I'm so excited for the Superman project." Darth Plato is here. Salwe, Darth Plato. Darth Plato says, "Hail to the chat." Hail, hello to you, Darth Plato. And Michael Lito reminds us to, Tom Jr. Jackson reminds us to check out Mikey Lito's YouTube channel. Certainly, we will do that. Now, I know that we're all wondering about some other news that's in the works here, and certainly something else that we are going to be talking about today is going to be the Andor series. Now, I don't know how many of you have been keeping up with Andor, but I have to tell you that I've been watching it, and it has been an amazing series. I know Tom Jr. Jackson reviews quite a few of the episodes, if not all of them, after he watches them on his YouTube channel, guys. So please do check out Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel to see his reviews. Certainly, they will be very interesting. I watched a lot of his reviews and I have loved seeing them. So, if you want to find out more about the Andor series, you can. Certainly, it's something to think about. And going forward, I think that Andor is pretty much one of the biggest hits that Star Wars really has been able to pull out. Now, as I said before, Retro Nerd Girl, and I'm trying to pull this up so we can all take a look at it. Certainly, oh, okay, we have Russ who is joining us. Hi, Russ, how are you this morning?
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot about the times moving. Of course, it doesn't move at the same time in England as it does in the States. So it's actually only, I thought I had an hour.
All right, no worries. You're here. That's what matters. It's great to see you, Russ.
Good to
Of
see you too.
course, as always, thank you for being here. And of course, we were just talking about Henry Cavill's departure as Restalt in The Witcher, which
Hmm.
is now being passed on to Liam Hemsworth.
Correct.
What are your thoughts on that, Russ?
I'm. How can I say? I couldn't care about. I don't watch The Witcher. I watched the first series. I think I'm not a gamer. I've never really been a gamer, so I was not that interested in the show, to be honest with you. But I think it's the ramifications of him quitting rather than him quitting is the big issue for me, because obviously it means that he's now fully committed to Superman movies and the DCU. So it looks like he's kicked Witcher into touch to focus on Superman. So uh, I couldn't be happier.
Yes, I feel the same way. I couldn't be happier with it, as I had mentioned before you joined us. Certainly, we're all willing to have him make extra time so he can make Superman the best Superman ever, and it's so exciting. I know for many of us, it's just so amazing that he is back. And as I said before, if you had asked me 6 months ago if this was going to happen, no one could have guessed that this was the case, but of course, I'm sure all of this was already in the works about what was going to happen. It's just such a pleasant and wonderful news, Russ, that it feels like every day, we're getting something new and important. And as I had thought, Cavill's going to keep us well informed. We're not going to be in the dark the way we've been for all these, let's say, years. Certainly, we are going to be well informed about what's going on with him. And I think he's as excited about the future and his future as Star Wars, as Superman, because I'm thinking of Andor,
Mhm.
as he is. So, but before I start to talk about Andor, I did just want to share this with a Retro Nerd Girl who was asking questions about Henry Cavill and Henry Cavill being in Enola Holmes Part 2. And they did say, and this was from a year ago, but he is actually in the movie as well, that he will be starring in Enola Holmes Part 2, which I'm guessing is going to premiere pretty soon, Retro Nerd Girl. Certainly as Sherlock in the story. I hope whatever they decided to do with him this time around, that he gets utilized more. This might have been the last time that they could really utilize that character and Henry Cavill starring in this film. So maybe he will return if Billy Bobby Brown decides to do another one. I don't know how successful Enola Holmes was, Retro Nerd Girl, but what I can say is that the film was certainly better for having Henry Cavill in it. We also have Cool Gamer is with us today. How are you, Cool Gamer? Good to see you. And guys, please do subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl's channel.
Hmm.
She has a review that she just put up there the other day. Please do check it out. She also reviewed, as I mentioned to you, my favorite science fiction film, Millennium, which I still have to recommend to anybody who likes time travel stories. So honestly, this is going to be something that is spectacular to watch. And with that being said, Russ, what's on your mind in entertainment today?
Oh God, there's so much to unpack with the Warner Brothers announcements and the Cavill's interview, things like that. I don't think did we haven't spoken since Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon concluded. Um, Much to my devastation, like, I couldn't believe it. I kept waiting. I thought, no, there must be another one. There must be another one. And then I sort of counted back, and there wasn't. And I'm just like, what? 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 Oh no! Devastated. That uh, that's finished. But what a finale! What a brilliant show! What a comeback! It's like that. That's kind of almost like Rocky-esque in it getting off the canvas and fighting back from what was an absolute debacle to a show of genius. Um, Andor, I'm lost for words at how good Andor actually is, and the numbers have sort of been leaked, come out. It appears that Andor is not a success on Disney. Like, nobody seems to be watching this show, um, which is, I guess, testament to the brand the damage that has been done to that particular brand. And it's such a shame because this show is so good, um, and there's lots of sneaky little references in there, little nods to George Lucas. Like, that prison was very oh god, what was his first movie? You know, the one with Robert Duvall.
THX 1138.
That's the very one. Sorry, someone's messaging me. I'm going to turn that off. Yeah, that sort of referenced that quite heavily. And I was thinking, are they building the Death Star? Is that what they're doing? Are they building parts for the Death Star in that nick? Um, then you've got Mon Mothma schmoozing, and you've got Luthen trying to egg people on to start to form the Rebel Alliance. It was quite a neat conversation between Luthen and what's the other character called?
Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera. When Saw Gerrera is talking about the, well, there's separatists, and there's this faction, and there's the humanist faction, and there's that faction, because of course these are all rebel cells. This is not yet the Rebel Alliance. Yeah, man, it's just so well done. And I was talking to my friend who hasn't seen it, and he was asking me, what's it about? I was kind of like, it's the beginning of the rebellion. He said, well, what happens? And it's like, I don't know, man. It's like a side of the Star Wars universe you've never seen. It's like people at work, basically. It's just people doing their jobs. And I know that sounds really boring, but of course, if you've seen Andor, you know that it isn't. Um, and what I really like about this show is it's showing the uh, how authoritarianism can take over. Um, Kind of benignly, in a way. Like, it seems like Deirdre and Cyril Khan are not essentially evil or bad people, but they want a galaxy that has law and order and isn't sort of like run roughshod over by the Huts and all sorts of bounty hunters and the Wild West. They want order and stability, peace and prosperity. But of course, in order to achieve that in the early stages of the empire, they are coming down quite hard on people, and Luthen is causing these problems for them in the hope that they're going to come down with a mailed fist, which will spike the rebellion. But you can sort of see what the empire is capable of, and the people that are working within it aren't necessarily all evil. They're just people doing their job, but that job entails forcing other people to do what perhaps that they don't want to do. It's kind of like a cautionary tale, really.
It really is, Russ. And there's so much to unpack here. And hello to you, Nathan Trujillo. So glad you are here with us this morning. Nathan says, sounds like Cavill doesn't realize that he can work different projects. Boy, he must be the busiest man in Hollywood right now, Nathan, to be honest with you.
He
And we
probably sorry, I think to Nathan's point, it's not that he doesn't want to work on other projects or whatever. I think what's probably happened, and we won't hear about this for a while now, we must realize that Henry is nearly 40, and you can't be Superman much past sort of 45. I mean, I know he looks fantastic and all the rest of it. So I imagine his deal is to shoot back to back movies. I think he's going to be solely on Superman for the next 4 to 5 years, getting these films ready and getting them out the door. Um, as part of this 10-year plan. So I imagine up until the age of 50, he's going to be busy being Superman, to the exclusion of pretty much everything else for the next 4 to 5 years. I think whatever they're building to.
Absolutely. And I do also want to say good morning to you, Joe Tyson, who says,
Hey,
good
Joe.
morning. Running late to the stream. I was finishing up the Rings of Power. Well, Joe, we are glad to have you here this morning. And certainly, you make so many good points, Russ. And of course, playing Superman is not like playing other roles. And we can certainly talk about that. And maybe we should talk about it, because it means that it's going to be a commitment of probably 5 years for Cavill. And we're talking about everything from soup to nuts. This is going to affect his personal life. you know,
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably going to get the money that he's been after, because of course all this stuff came out about why he was persona non grata at Warner Brothers, and that's a direct quote from Emmerich. Now that's come out, and it seems like, I don't know if we spoke about this before, so stop me if I have. But the reason why Henry was frozen out was because he was supposed to appear in Shazam, and he's like, fine, of course, I'm happy to appear. But his agent, Danny Garcia, turns around and says, yeah, but that's going to count as a contracted role. Okay, so either you pay him or you contract him, and Emmerich was unwilling to do either. So whether they were asking for what they saw as too much money, although I don't know what would be considered too much money to have Superman in your movie, that's why he was frozen out. It was all to do with him basically asking for what he was due. Well, I need to be paid, or I need a contract to sort of do this, and Emmerich didn't want to do either. So that's why we were bereft of Superman for 5 or 6 years. I have to say, though, although we were clamoring for it at the time, under that regime, as we have said on here before, the Superman film may well have been complete garbage. It could have been all about promoting Kara Zor-El and sidelining Superman and pushing him into the background and making him a bit Thor Love and Thunder esque. I mean, who knows what their plans were, but it was pretty clear they wanted Batgirl and Supergirl in the Batman Superman role. So maybe it was a good thing it didn't happen, because I'm really excited about this new leadership at DC. There's James Gunn and Peter Safran have taken over. So you've got the sort of creative writer director, and you've got the businessman producer. It seems like a dream team. I mean, do we want to go on and talk about this, or do we need to do more about Andor first of all?
Let's go ahead and do that. There is no order. So,
There is
um,
order in the empire, that's for
but
sure.
yes, yeah, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that we don't have to go through any particular order. And I'm going to bring up something, at least I'm trying to bring it up
Mhm.
with James Gunn. It's not letting me bring up anything except an ad. But what I was going to say is, no, I think it's important to talk about. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about, these things. Let's say if I were focusing on the idea of what is this going to mean to Henry Cavill's life, well, it might take him a few months just to rearrange his schedule. So that's the first thing, is that once he accepts this contract, he has to rearrange his schedule. And that might take a few months to work out everything that he might have had going on down the line. I don't see him reneging on a contract, but I do see him have to politely, refuse offers like season 4 of The Witcher. He had to politely refuse that. And he's not going to announce that he refused it until the Superman thing, let's say, was affirmed and confirmed.
Aren't these things
Then
usually done in threes? Or it's kind of like, he probably would have been signed up for 3 seasons of The Witcher, and then season 4 he would have to sign up for another 3, and he's like, oh, I don't know, we got Superman. I need to get back to you on that. And of course they're going to wait for him because it's Netflix and he's Henry Cavill, and I get that. Um, so maybe he, as you say, didn't renege, but he was reluctant to sign until the Warner Brothers thing came through.
yes, and just imagine the notion of, they probably already had the contracts ready, and he, it's like on his desk, all he has to do is press send or whatever it is he needs to do, and now he has to go ahead and inform them, and he's not doing it. And then finding out who would be recast, that takes time. So
Mhm.
you can imagine that process. And then giving him the stamp of approval, saying how pleased as punch he is, because he enjoyed playing that role. That must have been a fun role for him. He certainly made the character what it is. And then imagine having to go down the line of all the other things that he may or may not have been in the works that he had signed on for. So I know earlier this year I was looking at his IMDb as to what was coming up.
Mhm.
And I had kind of made a joke. I said, oh, I bet his stuff is booked out for the next 3 or 4 years. And it wasn't as booked as we thought it would be. And that should have been an indication to me that something was happening in regards to what he may have had to move things around. Obviously, the thing he has booked for the next 4 or 5 years is going to be Superman.
Mhm.
And it's going to take up a lot of his personal time. It's going to take up a lot of his ability to take other positions, but he's also going to be promoting it, because we see how he is from, this is day one was last week when he announced how pleased as punch he is to be coming back and telling fans how excited he is for the character. He's as excited as we are, as we said before. So
It looks like it, doesn't it?
yeah, this was just that was day one. We're going to be built up over the next year or so until we get this film, or whatever they plan on doing, Russ. It's going to be maybe a year from now until we get these, maybe a cool trailer or something, and he's going to be with us all the way. So this is very different, and we kind of need this now. We need somebody to promote like this. I mean, I've always talked about Tom Cruise promoting his films,
Mhm.
going to premieres. He was one of the first American actors to go overseas in the 90s to promote his work at the film festivals internationally. He made sure he showed up to premieres, no matter where the premieres were in each specific country. Because you remember a long time ago, it is kind of still the same way, but a lot of times the London premiere would be different from the New York premiere, and then there'd be a premiere in Asia, which would be different. And it is still that way, but it was even more so separate in, I think, maybe in the 90s. And he would be at all of those. He showed up and made sure that his film showed up in Cannes as the premiere film. I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised, Russ, if the Superman film became a premiere film at Cannes. If to be honest with you, if Tom Cruise can get his film as the premiere at Cannes, why not a new Superman film at a premiere at Cannes? Wouldn't that be something, Russ, if we
It would
saw
be,
something like that?
it'd be absolutely awesome, and I couldn't agree more with everything that I've got no argument to what you say there. I think Cavill, has expressed his desire to play it. This is a role that he wants. He was chasing this role, and didn't want to be fired as Superman. Um, no, I don't. Norwegian Kryptonian. We were just talking about this a minute ago. Norwegian Kryptonian says, "Do you think he had his contract with Netflix that he could leave The Witcher for Superman?" No, our guess is that these things come in threes. So he was probably signed up for 3 seasons, and they probably wanted him to re-up again for another another 2 or 3 seasons after that. And he probably sat on his hands a little bit once WBD had reached out, and The Rock had said, "Look, don't sign anything. You're gonna be in Black Adam. Otherwise, I'll move heaven and earth to do it." I imagine that's what happened. What happened there? But yeah, it would be awesome if they premiered it at Canada. The fact of the matter is, no matter where it's premiered, we will be getting a premiere of a new Superman movie. The guy that directed Fantastic Beasts name has been floating around sort of close to that, but I still maintain that the smart money is on Chris McQuarrie. I think WBD know that they have to go, and they have to go large on this Superman movie. It is going to be the flagship. As much as The Rock is saying that the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change, well, it probably has. He's done a fantastic job, but Black Adam isn't Superman.
Is
You
it
know,
David Yates that you're referring to?
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember. I remember listening to it last night on a stream
I
or,
had
or
to look it
something.
up. I didn't
Mm.
I didn't memorize it, but um
Yeah, I think so. I think that's his name. But I'm kind of holding out for Chris McCrory. But yeah, what I was saying is WBD or DC Studios. Actually, it's actually DC Studios now. Safran and Gunn know 100% they cannot drop the ball on this movie. They cannot. It has to be. Um, it can't even be as divisive a vision as Snyder had. Right. This is going to have to knock it out of the park in every sense of the way. So the pressure to get it right is going to be immense. I've seen a lot of nonsense flying around from some of these toxic Snyder fans, and there is a minority of toxic Snyder fans in the movement, and they're boycotting Cavill because of the lighter suit and the John Williams music, and they don't want to support the for them it's like Zack Snyder or nothing, and they don't seem to compute that if the first couple of movies of the DCU fail, then that will be proof in the numbers that this choice of casting hasn't worked, and they'll just scrap the lot.
yeah,
I
and you make a good point here, and I do just want to read Nathan's comment where he says, "Cavill isn't Robert Downey Jr." No, no, he isn't. Uh, the acting chops are not there. I haven't actually seen Cavill in something that would demand, do I think Cavill could do a more serious role? Absolutely. I'd love to see him in some kind of like sexy romances where we see a little bit more of Cavill, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
But honestly, I think he could do like some serious dramas if he wanted to, and he probably has done a few. Some of you guys probably already know. Or is literally flying and lifting. The actor is available. An actor is available. No, I don't think so on this one, Nathan. This one is going to require much more commitment from Cavill for a number of reasons. But the main reason is because Cavill said he wants creative control. Now, Russ, I don't know if he's going to get it. I have no idea. But since Cavill said that or indicated that, not every actor does that. But it seems
in
like he will get that. And no, he's not writing scripts or building sets, but he certainly doesn't want to see the things that you're referring to, Russ. He doesn't want the character to be off the sheet, the description sheet of what this character is supposed to be like. And you're right. If it was under the previous regime, we might have seen some offshoots or unusual things. But you and I were talking about this, Russ, and we
mm,
already know that had they gone ahead with the Superman series or films the way that we would expect them to, there would have been room for them to do all these other side projects like Supergirl and,
mm,
all these other, things that they wanted to do. They would have had the cash, Russ,
mm.
to throw into films like that. You don't have to spend $100 million on those films, although they have and did do that. And I think it was a mistake. But on this film, a film like Superman can allow them to make those other films they want to make. And that's traditionally what used to happen, where there would be films that were $10 million, $20 million films that were made. And I almost feel like they have to go back to that model financially. And Tom Jr. Jackson says maybe James Gunn will direct it. Russ, are we going to go back to the model where where we will get these mega blockbusters? Obviously, Superman is going to be a huge hit, but will we go back to these films and see a situation where we have the big mega blockbuster, and then maybe we do get a different version of a Titan film where it's something fun and exciting, something different, like that Luthor and Superman hybrid person.
Connor.
Yes, Connor.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank Jamin D for tipping $7.23. Thank you so much for that. He does have a comment, which I'm just copying right now. I'm just going to put it in the chat, guys, so that everybody can see what he has said. First of all, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And he says, let me just pan on down here. Thank you for your generosity. That is so wonderful that you're doing that. We appreciate it so much. Jamin D says, they had lost me on Witcher after season 1, but I was watching it because the character of Geralt at least kept some of, I guess, a feeling from the books. But since Cavill left, there is nothing connecting to the Witcher source other than the name. On the other hand, Superman, guys, there hasn't been another Superman since Cavill. They haven't been able. No one has been able to, let's say, I think if they could, Russ, if they could have found another Superman, they could. Well, maybe they didn't just wanted to completely do away with Superman, Russ.
They did. That was the direction that they wanted to go in. They wanted to do the female Justice League, headed by Wonder Woman, Batgirl, and Supergirl. That's the direction they thought, that the diversity direction they thought the wind was blowing in.
But it could have been done, Russ, if they had done both. People would have watched both. We would have seen it. We would have gone to the theater and watched it and said yay or nay, but it would have been made, Russ. We would have gotten those films if they had kept up. At least this is my theory. If they had kept up with it. And I understand what Jamin D is saying. Cavill is in excellent condition. He looks like The Witcher to me when I think about The Witcher. And I'm not going to lie. He is probably 90% of why I watched The Witcher Netflix series. I didn't even watch the gameplay walkthrough on The Witcher. I didn't watch it, but I did watch seasons 1 through 3 with Cavill. And I've actually seen, I'm sure you all have seen those YouTube channels where they analyze fighting scenes with swords. And there's some great guy, and maybe it probably was you, Russ, who told me about this one where they had analyzed Cavill's fighting scenes in The Witcher and said that he was spot on, that his movements were great. He really has created and kept a very interesting show going when one of the lead actresses, everybody said, was unlikable. But Cavill was the character that was likable. And she should have been, we all should have been on her side. I can't remember the actress's name, but everybody was like, you're not fooling us, but we love Cavill. So I think in some cases, if it has to be the case, maybe he doesn't play dramatic roles, but maybe he excels at science fiction, fantasy, horror, and superhero films. Maybe
but he's one of us, isn't he? He's an absolute nerd. I mean, he's not like a pretend nerd that says, "Oh, I've been reading the comics my whole life," and you kind of know that I haven't. I mean, the guy is massively into. He's into Total War like me. He plays Warhammer Total War. I play Rome Total War. But he was talking about this on the interview when he did his, thank you for waiting for me, Instagram post. He was wearing a Warhammer 40K t-shirt. He's into this stuff. And I suppose for him, he probably plays The Witcher. He was probably made up getting cast as The Witcher because he's into it. But, if you got Witcher, Superman, what do I really want to do? Well, do I want to be in a TV show, or do I want to be in a $200 million film? To your point on that, no, because they were going to do away with Cavill and Affleck in Flashpoint and replace them with Sasha Kaye and I can't remember the Batgirl actress's name. They were gone. That was it. That was the direction. It was the all female DCU in this case, um, and it didn't happen because they were all fired, and the wind has changed. I think as well, to your point about mid tier Titans movies and things like that. Again, I don't think so. As much as a good idea as that is, because Zaslav needs to save money, but needs to spend money in order to make money. So he has come out, I think, in the previous investors call and just said, look, forget about these things on HBO Max. Like, it's not happening. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are tentpole major problem. They are going to sink money into those movies, but given Warner's financial state at the moment, they're trying to recoup money. I don't think we're going to see these smaller satellite things. But we're talking about, Nathan was talking about Cavill's involvement, and we kind of sort of swayed away from that a little bit. No, he said he wanted to produce. Like, this was mentioned in an interview. He wants to kind of produce a role. I don't know if he wants it for Superman, but so yeah, what about directing or producing? He said, yeah, I would really like to do, producing. And he does, made no secret of the fact that he wants creative control over the next Superman film, as we've said so many times on here, and you can't blame him in the previous regime. But under the previous regime, he and Chris McQuarrie went and pitched a Superman idea. They were working together on Mission Impossible, as everybody knows, that thing which has become kind of iconic. And Cavill says to McQuarrie, well, okay, what do we think about this? And he said, no, well, what do you think about that? And they both sort of high-fived and said, well, let's go to Toby and get this movie made. And they laughed out of the building. But it kind of shows that he must know the comics. James Gunn, we know, is a colossal nerd. I mean, it's kind of like, if it wasn't going to be Zack Snyder, I don't think I could have. I just couldn't have imagined it would be James Gunn. It was spoken about a year ago, wasn't it? He'd be great, and we were like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he would be great, but why would he do it? And here we are, a year later. James Gunn, Safran, Cavill's back. Rumors are swirling that Affleck's doing a trilogy. I mean, it's just, without Return of the Zack, which of course is what I would like, and I'll address that in a minute. It couldn't be better. Now the pressure's on to deliver. That's the thing. They can't get this wrong. And one of the issues that they have here is that they've had Black Adam, they've got Fury of the Gods, and they've got The Flash. All three projects that were made under the previous regime, all three projects that have gone through major, well, certainly The Flash has gone through major reshoots. And Black Adam has not been that well received. It hasn't wowed people. Let's just put it that way. But it also hasn't turned people off. It was kind of like, it's a movie. It didn't offend anybody. It was okay. It was a great way to spend a couple of hours, and let's roll on to the next one. So they're kind of like in between a rock and a hard place here, aren't they? Because they've got these mega movies that have been made that aren't going to be perfect, which is all going to lead us to the next Superman film.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Jamin D,
Yeah,
again, for
thank
the
you, Jamin.
super chat. That is so, what's not a super chat, a Stream Elements donation. Thank you. I so appreciate it. The Hidden, hello, The Hidden, says, and I feel like I kind of answered this about WB's Man of Steel 2 goes forward to production. Do we think we get it? I think we might, but maybe from what, Russ, you're saying, it's the money that is having such a effect over all of this. And may honestly, really be something that is going to be the final word, even if people show interest. Luminara 843 is here with us.
Oh, there she is.
How are you, Luminara? It is so great to see you guys. Check out Luminara on YouTube. She is a collector of 1/6 scale figures and so much more. Guys, do please check out Luminara 843 here on YouTube. And thank you for joining us this morning, Luminara. Any final thoughts on Cavill and these developments that we're getting every day? What do you think is going to come up next that we're going to learn about this? Maybe what you said, Russ, about this pitch for this film. Do you think that's still in the works?
I would hope so. I would really hope so. I mean, Chris McQuarrie is brilliant. He's really, really, really good, and I think his sensibility personally, I wouldn't fancy a James Gunn Superman movie. But then again, I don't know. He's so talented, isn't he, James Gunn? Everyone sort of thinks, they think of James Gunn, I think Guardians of the Galaxy slash Peacemaker, because he's got that quirky sense of irreverent adult humor, and I wouldn't want that in a Superman film. I kind of want more reverential treatment of Superman. I'm very into the super god Snyder take, as everybody knows, but he's supremely talented, and he probably knows better than me how to do a Superman film. But for me, it would be Macquarie. Yeah, I've got plenty more to say on it, actually, because he did this interview on stage in New York, and they had audience questions, and one of the mystery questions, of course, came from one Mr. Zachary Snyder, and Zack Snyder is known, sorry, for teasing stuff about future movies. He was doing this all the way in the lead up to release the Snyder Cut. He's been dropping hints and tips throughout the past year of seven, like a round table with seven chairs around it, and then his Thanksgiving dinner with the Final Crisis and the notepads in the background. And in that interview, he asked us a pretty silly question. To be honest with you, he asked him, what was it like the first time we put you in the gimbal thing to make you fly? And then right at the end, he says, I'm looking forward to working with you again. You're the greatest Superman of all time.
Yes, you sent me this.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can pull that up.
It's on your phone, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have to get to the point. You did send me that, so I'm gonna get it. I am gonna get it. Just give me 1 second.
So Zack Snyder is not known for sort of running off at the mouth and saying things that he doesn't. He's a big teaser, which is a Saxon song from 1979. But he's into these teasers. He's into dropping hints. He's into dropping the breadcrumbs. Now, he cannot say anything officially while he's on this exclusive deal with Netflix. I'm sure that he's got gagging orders, and he can't say this, and he can't say that, and he can't say the other. So he can't say, well, it's been brilliant talking to James Gunn, and I'm really looking forward to coming back and doing Justice League 2 and 3, whatever conversation they may or may not have had, because of course, as we know, their history goes back many years, 20 odd years. Zack Snyder and James Gunn did Dawn of the Dead together, which set them on the path to fame and fortune. So Zach can't say anything at the moment, but he could have said, and I wish you all the success in the future with this new version of Superman. He could have basically indicated that he was passing the buck, but he didn't. He said, I am looking forward to working with you again. You're the greatest Superman of all time. Words to that effect, anyway. So, yeah, that's hugely exciting. For me personally, I just think it would be great. And of course, it might not be anything to do with working on a DC project. It might be to do with he might be appearing in a Rebel Moon movie or something like that. But given Snyder's penchant for teasing, given the fact that Henry Cavill is now quit the Witcher, clearly to focus on Superman, I don't know. I'm not saying the Snyderverse is going to be restored. I think that ship has sailed. And I was talking about this to somebody, and I said, look, you know what? If Justice League is canon, so be it. It's not like they're heavily going to reference that movie. I'm just happy that the Snyder cast seems to be continuing. Yeah, there it is.
I'm sorry, I can't share it normally because I have a limitation.
That's it. I can't wait to work with you in the future, and you are, of course, the greatest Superman ever. There you go. Can't wait to work with you in the future.
Okay. So I'm sorry I couldn't share my screen. That's what I was trying to do, but I can't because there's a limitation on my computer. Yes, it certainly is. It's exciting. I can't even. And I'm so glad you shared that with me, and with everybody here. Honestly, it's not a secret, but I am so excited, Russ, and I hope everybody here who's excited to see this new iteration of Superman is excited. And unfortunately, I'm going to say we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. I don't want to, but we have to. But before we move on to the next topic, I do want to play my promo, my Positive Fandom promo that CJ made for me. Absolutely, it is certainly a compliment. And oh, Jamin D says that could mean Zach's other projects. We shouldn't just assume it could be DC, but it's fun to speculate.
It
Yeah, I
really is.
thought that too.
But
Yeah.
I just think with now Cavill tied up, and look, I could be just hoping because everyone knows I'm a big Zachalite, but it just, as I said, he could have said, um, good luck with Superman in the future. I hope you go on, but he didn't. It's kind of like, I'm looking forward to working with you again, and you're the greatest Superman ever. Seems to me to just knowing Snyder as we do. But yes, absolutely, it may mean nothing at all. But somehow, I'm hoping not.
Yeah, you make a good point, Jamin D. And I also wanted to say the Hidden says, will the return of the Snyderverse group successfully ruin James Gunn's Warner Brother plans to restore? I don't
There's
think
not
so.
enough
I
of them.
think and the reason why I don't think so is because I think that we're past the point of full exclusionary stuff anymore. They want to get these films made and they're excited about it. And if the formula works, regardless of whose group is doing it, or let's say who presented this first or whatever, they're going to go with it. Gunn is not a fool. He's going to work with people. I don't see him being the kind of person who's going to say, no, I'm not, we can't work with that. If something's already in the mix and it can work, he'll be the person to execute it to a great level. And I don't think it will matter. What do you think, Russ?
Absolutely, I can't agree more. They've said this. They've literally said, Safran and Gunn released a statement saying they're hugely excited to work with these characters, and then called out Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Harley Quinn. So clearly, she's going to be a big part of whatever they're doing next. And then, and I'll address that in a second, Norwegian Kryptonian as well, because I'm a Kryptonian at heart too. Then they went on to say that they want to work with filmmakers with unique visions, or I'm paraphrasing, but they're basically saying, no, we are not going to give you cookie cutter movies. We know what has been successful for DC, and that's basically kind of like auteurist visions of these things. Joker was huge. The Batman was a success. So they kind of want to bring that stuff into the DCU, or DCEU as it used to be called. They've said they are going to work with filmmakers and allow them to fulfill their vision of these characters. You're absolutely right, Norwegian Kryptonian. I love them to restore the Snyderverse, but that plan of
It may not be right now.
I don't think they will. I think that the Snyderverse is kind of in the rearview mirror as opposed to Zack's original plans, but that in no way precludes him coming back to direct and produce other movies that don't necessarily fulfill his Justice League 2 and 3, because we know what was gonna happen there. We also know that he has a new plan for it. But yeah, I mean, as much as I love it, you can't deny that it was divisive. People didn't seem to understand that Superman was going to go through a journey and become the Superman at the end of it. He was, had to go through this. It was very comic accurate at the time. Superman New 52 was very introspective, very mopey in some respects. In New 52, actually, he wasn't even with Lois Lane. They went sort of down the more logical route, and it was Superman and Wonder Woman with a couple in the New 52. So I think I said that before, about it being comic accurate. But yeah, Norwegian Kryptonian, I think absolutely they could build on what was done before. Cavill's already said, it's going to be a joyful Superman, but he's also going to be badass. He's not going to be, yes, he'll be getting cats out of trees, but he'll also be kicking ass along the way. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that we've got the Snyder cast. I'm hoping we get that Deathstroke Batman movie. I'm full of hope, as
Yeah,
the symbol says.
and this is why I'm saying it's going to be the next 5 years, guys. It's not sort of like an overnight thing. And I think that while it's true, they already had things in the works and they know what to do, what this entails and what's going on, it will take this amount of time for them to get everything together and set a plan in motion. I think it's going to be a phenomenal once this starts. And I do want to say, Tom Jr. Jackson says, I'm interested and seeing what is to come. So am I, Tom Jr.
Like, I'm
Jackson. Hello.
excited. This is the thing. Like DC has been taking such a kick in for such a long time. Even as like I've been looking at this stuff since the 70s, man. And
Yes.
finally to be, e- like bubbling with excitement.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't wait to find out. And you know who we've got to thank for this? We've got to thank circumstance, maybe with WBD's takeover
And
and
Zaslav.
Dwayne the fucking Rock Johnson. He's a man mountain himself, and he moved mountains to get this man back. He went around his boss to his boss's boss to say, no, we need him in this movie or we're going to be in trouble. Cavill is Superman. I want him back. It's gonna.
And
He
he
has
never
done.
gave up.
He never gave up. 6 years, man. 6 years.
And I want to say a special good morning to Lorena Creole. Hello, Lorena. I hope you are well this morning. Lorena says, good morning, everyone. Hope you are all having an amazing and blessed Sunday. Well, we hope you are too, guys. Check out Lorena Creole's channel. As you guys know, I stream with Lorena Creole every week. So please do check our work out. And we do have our rebroadcast of Toxic Male Appreciation at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Lorena Creole's channel. We feature Matt Smith. So guys, please do check that out after this show. And Jamin D says, positive fandom. It will be fun to see Zach's that Alex Ross style of filming under James Gunn with fun romance, action, balance, comedy. This could be the film that we've been waiting for, Russ.
Well, I mean, they were talking about Final Crisis, weren't they? That was Zack Snyder's sort of tease, and that was kind of the direction that he was going to go in post his now known Justice League 2 and 3 plans with I saw someone mention it in the chat, when Superman's dead and Bruce and Lois get together, and Lois is pregnant with Bruce Wayne's child, and all that stuff was going on. It was really quiet, and ultimately, when the Joker says at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, because you didn't, so many futures and all that, Bruce ends up sacrificing himself to stop Lois Lane from being killed, to stop Superman from falling to the anti-life equation, which will stop Darkseid. That was Plan A. It looked like Zack wanted to go in the direction of Final Crisis therein, which has a lot of that. Batman dies in Final Crisis as well. I've heard talk, and it could just be speculation, of Kingdom Come. Talking of Alex Ross, which was an Elseworld story. Alex Ross did the pencils, and I can't think of the pencils and the painting, and I can't think of the Mark Waid did the story for that, and that deals with older superheroes. Superman is retired, and we get a new sort of breed of very, very violent superheroes, and it's sort of like a clash of ideologies. It's an epic story, and if you haven't read it, I recommend you should. So yeah, I think Zack Snyder to do Kingdom Come to wrap up the DCU would be epic.
It would be, and we do need closure. We need closure, and it makes sense. Guys, do please check out Lorena Creole's channel here, which we have up now. And Darth Plato says that Superman was his first theater experience, Superman 1978. And of course, we're talking about the incomparable Christopher
Reeve.
Reeve.
I must say as well, our Darth Plato emailed me last night to say he'd bought my second book and was about to embark on that. So thank you very much, Darth Plato. I
Wow.
really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. It's really great, especially after how bad
Yes.
the first one was.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
And Tom Jr. Jackson has up about ladies of the PGS this Monday. Now it's just going to be me. I'm going solo this Monday for Ladies of the PGS, but it will be on the Post Geek Singularity at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the PGS channel, which is Robert Meyer Burnett's channel. So please do check it out tomorrow at 6 p.m. It's probably going to be a Halloween special since it is Halloween, guys. And I'm looking forward to this. So, all right. Well, and the Hidden does mention something about development into Final Crisis by tying into CW and HBO characters. And this is exactly why I think that if this Superman film is a success, we're going to see more, not Titans, but I think they'll create a new series, rightfully so. And guys, follow Russ Whitfield and find his books, the Gladiatrix series, on his website and on, is it on Amazon, Russ, as well?
Yeah, yeah, I think you can get it secondhand on Amazon now, like literally for next to nothing. So if you fancy like something to read when you're on the loo, then I highly recommend it. You can probably pick it up for like $1 now, so secondhand. So
Well, guys, please do check out Russ's Gladiatrix series. If you like historical fiction and obviously gladiators, this certainly is the story for you. Do check it out. He has 3 books there available. So certainly do check out his website to find out more about Russ. Guys, unfortunately, I don't want to switch over, but we're going to switch over to talking about Andor. One of these days, Russ, you and I are just going to do a straight up Superman show where
mm,
maybe we could just do a Superman show where we just review the movies, because we've been talking about wanting to review the movies, talk about our favorite moments and different things that we see in the movies that we love. And we should really do this. And it should be a live show. I think it'd be fun to get everybody's opinions. But I am going to, with that being said, put my promo on. It's only 30 seconds, but it's the obviously positive fandom intro. It's an intro and an outro, but I play it in the middle and at the end. But when we come back, we're going to start to talk about Andor. So we'll be right back, guys. All right,
love a bit
guys.
of synthwave. Love a bit of synthwave.
It is great, isn't it? We have CJ to thank for that. Thank you, CJ, who's currently working on. He's also working on an intro and outro for Ladies of the PGS that's coming up soon. CJ, thank you so much for always doing such incredible work. I love my positive fandom intro and outro. It's by CJ, guys. So do please, if you want information of getting in contact with CJ, contact me, and I can certainly show you in the right direction. And so, guys, all right, okay, we are talking about the series Andor. Russ, when you first started Andor, did you have any idea 8 seasons later we'd be so into this show? What do you think, Russ? What are your
No,
thoughts?
I thought it'd be shit because based on the evidence of my own eyes, having seen one disaster after another trotted out by Disney Star Wars, with the exception of the, let's face it, fun, entertaining, but ultimately mediocre Mandalorian. It's an okay show, but I think Mandalorian gets far more props because it's just not awful. And in an era of terrible, terrible, terrible Star Wars, the fact that something you could get behind it, you just held on to it like it was a long lost lover, and oh my god, please don't leave me. You're great, I love you, fantastic, but it's okay. It's not great, right? Andor is legitimately, for me, I'm probably going to get shot for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's the best Star Wars I've seen since Empire. I don't think anything has surpassed Empire. I don't think this has surpassed Empire, but it's up there. It's the best Star Wars I've seen since then. Best Star Wars in like 40 years, man. It's just so well done. It's so clever. There's enough references to the past in there, but not enough to sort of blind you with member berries and all that sort of thing. Like I said, the little droid going along, and oh man, I love it. It's the best I've seen since Empire. That's all I can say.
Well, you are not alone in the praise for the show. In this article, I think this is a Forbes article. I think Andor episode 8. This is from CNET. Sorry, this is CNET article. Episode 8 explains Rogue One cameos and a hellish Star Wars prison. Now, interestingly enough, a few weeks ago on Turner Classic Movies, hosted by Ben Mankiewicz, his show on Saturday nights, where they featured a night of classic films with robots in it. Of course, one of the first films they showed was THX 1138, which is
Mhm.
everybody knows is the first film. Um, uh, that film
George
that
Lucas.
yeah that he made when he was, I guess, was it UCLA or something.
Mhm.
And it was very experimental at the time the film was made, and it has robots in it. The story is about people who essentially work for robots who rule over them, more or less. Um, and so that was in it. And there was also a film called Making Mr. Right, which was a film about a woman who works in a place where they developed an android. And in the end, she ends up leaving with the android to live with him. And the other film they featured was RoboCop. So it was a night filled with robotic dreams, but it was funny to see it, and then to see Andor, where he ends up in this prison. And even in some of these scenes, although I don't have the one where he has his hands behind his head, um, which many people said paid homage to THX 1138. I think that's the exact number. But honestly, guys, certainly this particular episode where Andor finally realizes where he is and what it means is absolutely devastating to him. However, upon arriving there and kind of seeing what's going on and checking things out, um, he starts to learn the ropes, and it speeds up to sort of a 30-day. He's been there for 30 days. And as I said last night or the night before, he takes this cool hand Luke approach, Russ,
Mhm.
where he's like, okay, if they're going to make us dig ditches, we're going to be the best, dick, you know,
Ditch
ditch
diggers.
diggers ever. I can't say it anymore. Ditch
Uh-huh.
diggers ever. We're going to be the best damn ditch diggers ever, and we're going to beat them at their own game. And he kind of has that kind of flair where he's like, "Come on, guys, come on." I can't do his sexy accent, but even in prison, he's sexy, right? He's like, "Come on, guys, come on." It's like.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. So anyway, he's there, he's motivating the team, he's finding out what's going on. And there are all sorts of things we learn. And Russ, I was talking to you about this. You and I have actually text about this. We didn't talk about it. We text each other talking about how you thought he was building parts of the Death Star. Everybody else thought he was building parts of the Death Star. And I said, how ironic if he was building parts of the Death Star only to die trying to get plans for the Death Star.
That he built. Yeah.
What irony for him to know this, that one day he would be destroying or have a hand in destroying the one thing that they made him build. They forced him to build this thing. He has no choice, nor do any of the other prisoners. It's in a very sterile looking place. I love the way it looks. He's got these guards who don't have any guns, but they're wearing those really cool boots that if
Mm.
any of you have ever skied or snowboarded, we all know that these are snowboard boots or ski boots. But even more than that, they are torturing him in the prison. I don't think I have a picture of the floors, but it's a stainless steel floor, and he meets Kino Loy, who says, "Look, mister," and I'm not saying it the way he would say it, but he says, "Look, mister, you are mine. Your ass is mine, and you better perform. And the 5 minutes I have to spend talking to you means that we will be the last team, and the last team gets punished." Or
Mm.
something to that degree. So you better get your ass in gear and get to work now. And 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 it was so good. He was great as this sort of, he's obviously a prisoner himself, as you can see. But boy, he lays down the law so well. Thank you, Darth Plato, who says Star Wars meets the Dirty Dozen. All that's missing is, the football player who, they had the guy who was the football player in the Dirty Dozen, but the ragtag team of people who absolutely have to go ahead and break out and do this special mission. But it is going to become a special mission, isn't it, Russ? Because we know that this isn't over. I have a feeling he's going to win favor with this guard, and they're all going to get the hell out of there. The only question is, how long is it going to take him to get a pair of those boots? What do you think, Russ?
My guess is that that they've, because they're good at foreshadowing in this show, and things are said that then come back to kick you in the balls when you least expect it. We know that the rules have just been changed. Like, it used to be a 6-week sentence for what he did, and now all of a sudden it's been jumped up to 6 years. And they have your timer on the wall telling you how many more days that you've got left, or is told, don't bother looking at that. They'll let you out if they let you out, and they probably won't, says the one guy. But Andy Serkis, uh, Kino Loy, turns around and says, I've got 249 days left. Don't fuck it up, kind of thing. So he's counting down the days, 249 days. And it is only a guess, right? I think that Kino Loy's sentence will be extended for no good reason, but Kino Loy seems to have more freedom as the boss than the other guys do, and I think it will be once. As far as he's concerned, he's served his time and he should be let go. They're going to add more onto his sentence, and I think he will be the linchpin that enables them to escape. Because obviously they will escape because Andor can't spend the rest of the season in the Nick. That would be, well, maybe he could. I mean, who knows? That they could probably make. See, that's the thing. They're in that Nick, and they're working, and it's interesting. It was so funny to see Chris. I think his name's Chris Ellison, the grey haired guy that
Yeah.
was with them. That guy has been in so many British TV shows, you can't count them. And he was also the first people that 1989 Michael Keaton Batman beat up. He's the guy that says, "Who are you?" And Keaton goes, "I'm Batman." It's the same guy. He was in a great show here called Our Feed the Same Pet back in the 1980s. He's done loads of stuff.
You make a good point. Darth Plato says one of the prisoners in Andor's work gang was also in Rogue One in the scene to rescue Jyn Erso. Now, of course, as I've said, and many of you have said, and we've all probably said, we know he's going to be meeting people in this prison. Certainly, this prison sentence is going to change his life in more ways than one. Perhaps this, Russ, is where Andor changes in a different way. And I talked about how I didn't want him to just change overnight and, like kind of a cliche-ish way of him, turning from one side to the other. And I still don't want him to be full on rebel. I want him to still have a little bit of, side Andor team. Team Andor versus team rebel. I want him to be more for Andor than anything else. But will this be where Andor completely changes and realizes or decides that he's a true rebel at heart?
Don't know, because this show is just so well done. I have no fucking idea what's coming round the corner for me. I wanted to ask Darth Plato, actually, was that the sort of Egyptian looking guy that was doing the hand signals? I recognized him. He's been in lots of stuff as well. He's another British actor, and he's been in loads of things. Is that the guy you're talking about? Was he also in Rogue One? I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, I think the guy you're talking about who does some of the hand signals, I think, was the one who was also in that movie with Tom Hanks with the oil tanker, wasn't he?
Don't know.
Well, there's a lot to think about, and I have a feeling between us and Gary Bandasender says winter essentials, those prison boots.
100%.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. That we are going to see a lot of characters that will be popping up in this prison. And we also learned, Russ, and you mentioned it, there's something that's happened in the Empire. We knew they were going to be coming down hard. This is what Luthen wanted. Luthen wanted them to start to like crack skulls and, punish, 3 strikes and you're out kind of stuff. Normally it would be 6 months, but he got a 6-year prison sentence. And Darth Plato says he was talking about the guy who was, who I guess maybe he killed himself. The one who said the number on the scoreboard doesn't matter. We're all stuck here for the long run. Mm-hmm. Certainly it's something to think about.
That guy, is that him? Go back.
Oh, is it?
No, I can't see what it says there. He was in Rogue One. Yeah, so that's the Egyptian looking guy, isn't it?
Yes,
I can't really see on the screen. Yeah.
So of course, Russ, I think I might have found it. I think it says Cassian's prison unit manager is Kino Loy, played by Andy Serkis, having played Supreme Leader Snoke in the sequels, who's pretty mean and desperate to reach the quotas. You might recognize one of Cassian's table mates as well. His name is Ruscott Melshi. Is this the person you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah, part of the real
Duncan
team.
Powell is part of the rebel team that steals the Death Star plans in Rogue One. He's got some facial hair in the movie and seems pretty tight with Cassian. So this is the gentleman here. How
I think so.
ironic, Russ. Thank goodness this article has come up at this moment, and perhaps this is what Darth Plato might have been referring to as well. Melshi and Cassian will be allies in Rogue One 5 years after the events on Andor. So if it's 5 years after the events on Andor, maybe then they get out of the prison pretty soon. They will escape the prison together, but he seems to have lost hope when they meet there due to the Empire's nasty new legislation cracking down on anything even mildly rebellious. Anyone who thinks they're getting out of here now is dreaming, he warns Cassian. Those days are over. I don't know what his accent is, but I felt like he has one. Solid first day, really.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly an interesting thing to think about. And as I had said to you, I realized that after a while, the numbers don't count. The numbers don't mean anything. Your sentence, they're going to keep you there forever. You're
Until you
not
die.
getting.
Yeah, it looks like it until you die or kill yourself or are killed. I think that's the new regime.
Yes. And of course, thank you, Mikey Lito, for answering that. Where is it? Thank you, Mikey Lito. Mikey Lito says, oh, that's the wrong one. I'm still not convinced that Andor knows what direction he's heading in. Thank you, Mikey Lito. Then he's still trying to figure it out. And he also says, I'm convinced Mon Mothma's daughter will not be happy with her mother's activities. Yes. And there's a lot more to think about how that's going to work out for certain. There's also the guy, the one who got fired. I don't know why we can't ever remember his name, but Deidre has found him and she has been interrogating him. And I don't know what I was expecting from this interrogation, Russ. What were you expecting? Did you think that this interrogation would mean that he'd be in cahoots with Deidre? Did you think she would bring him on as a person to work? I guess that would be too easy of a plot point. And hello to you, Jacob Ironside. Hello, Jacob. Thank you so much for joining us.
I love
Russ,
your icon, man.
do you think that Deidre should have taken on that young fired officer from
Cyril Khan?
Yes.
I didn't know what to expect. That's the great thing about this show. Like, yeah, I'm just guessing. These are just guesses. So, I think one of the things we were talking about before was, I said I hope that Cyril doesn't suddenly just see the light and suddenly become like a rebel and all of that stuff. And that seemed to me prove the opposite. And I really hope they stick to this. He's like, you could use me. He's trying to get a job now with the ISB. All I care about, we need to stamp down this. This is lax. People are dead. We need order. And he's sort of basically, giving her his CV saying, I was poorly treated. Okay, it was a risk. It went wrong, but no one was doing anything. My superior was incompetent. I had to take action. There was a time window. I took it and the mission went awry. Had I had the proper backing, things would have been better. He's an Imperial. And I hope he becomes an Imperial. I hope he joins the ISB. And you can see that Dedra is just as passionate about what she's doing as the rebels are. She thinks she's, to her this isn't evil. To her this is law and order. This is justice. These people are, corrupting the peace and stability that we've come out of this period of civil war and separatists and all of that stuff. Everything's at peace, and sometimes spare the rod, ruin the child, and all that kind of thing.
That's right. Yes.
But you know what I was thinking? Why is Luthen so against the Empire that has brought peace, relative prosperity? I mean, he's living a great life. Why does he want them to come down so hard on people? When they start smashing people, that's when they get rebel. Why? What's driving Luthen's hatred of the Empire? Because actually, the people on Coruscant have got it pretty good. He has it pretty good. So I don't know. It suddenly struck me. Why does he hate them so much? He's living the life of Riley. Why does he literally doesn't care about the little people. He kind of wants the Bixes of this world to be taken off the streets, interrogated, and have her family and friends all riled up. Like he doesn't care about that. It's eyes on the prize, man.
Absolutely. Excuse me.
What's his motivation?
This is a good question, and I noticed that Luthen goes on to Segra Milo, as we said, to meet up with Saw Gerrera, and he uses the same line on Saw to kind of coax him into becoming a rebel. But Saw isn't a chump, Saw is a grown man, and he's like, look, your lines aren't going to work on me, bro. Okay. I've been around the block as many times as you have. Saw knows who Luthen is. And Luthen has said in a previous episode to the shopkeeper girl, whose name I can't remember, he said, we can't hide forever, or, we can't keep hiding. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what on earth is Luthen hiding? What is it? What's his story?
What he's pushing for is a uprising. He's desperate for the uprising to begin. That's what he's saying. We can't hide forever. There has to be, I think the subtext is there has to be a war. That these people have to be overthrown. And I don't know what his motivation is. And yes. It's not like I don't care. See, it's quite interesting because the show's called Andor, right?
Yes.
Now, as a writer, Andor is what you call a passive lead. Like he's a passive protagonist. Like, Andor doesn't make things happen. Shit happens to Andor, and it's sort of textbook how not to write something. And it's the people around Andor that are making things happen. Luthen's making stuff happen. Deirdre is making stuff happen. They're the active characters. They're the go-getters. They're the ones that are pushing the plot forward. And Andor is like a bit of Flotsam and Jetsam, ending up having to flee the planet by chance with Luthen, who thinks he might be a good man to do this heist. Because, as I've said so many times, Andor's a piece of shit. He's a horrible, horrible, horrible man. Who does horrible things. He's only interested in himself, but he's a passive character. Like, he's on Vegas planet, with that hot chick, and then he gets nicked, then he ends up in prison. None of this is sort of him pushing that plot forward. He's just sort of like part of the plot, and it's Deirdre and Luthen and Mon Mothma that are making shit happen. And the rebel, the blonde rebel,
Deirdre. Vel.
Thank you. Yeah, they're doing shit. Andor isn't. Shit's being done to Andor. So it's just so.
Well,
they know they're so talented. This team, this brother, the two Gilroys, they're so talented, and they know the rules and they can break them and they can subvert the rules.
How, as excited as we are talking about the twists and turns in the story, this writer's room is like, wait till you see what I have planned. This is how cool these guys are. And one writer is sitting next to them like, oh my God, I wonder what he has planned. I'm like, I'm not going to say what I have planned. I want to best you. I think that there's a lot of that going on in this writer's room where they're like, let's best this. They want excellence. They want us to enjoy this. And certainly Luthen and Vel, I don't know what their motivations are, because they haven't said what they are. I'm not convinced that Vel's motivation is to be a rebel. I think she wants to be with her girlfriend. I think that's how she got into this. This is just my theory. And her girlfriend does not necessarily care if Vel is around. Her girlfriend
she said that, didn't she? The girlfriend said the fight comes first, we come second. That's always been our agreement.
And you know something? I think Vel was crushed from this. I think
she was.
This really hurt her. And, if I were Vel, I would just go to that pleasure planet where Andor was on and go and find me another girlfriend. So that's what I think Vel should do. But she might be in too deep, and there might be too many people who know what's going on with her. She certainly knows the shopkeeper girl. And Luthen also, we don't know his motivation. So they're a mystery, but he did say he was hiding. He's hiding something. Now, Prince Tron, Marcellus Maximus. Hello, Princeton Marcellus Maximus. Welcome to Sunday Brunch. He says, I believe Deidre is Andor's sister. She was taken captive by the Empire, raised in the system, changed her accent and dyed her hair. Well, you know something, Prince Tron, we all are doing the hair dyeing thing, so that part is true. But that would be such a great plot twist for his own sister to be hunting him down. It's so good. It's so good. Like the idea of this. Um, I just love it. Certainly not anything I would have guessed. Darth Plato makes a comment. Robert Meyer Burnett thinks that Luthen was a Jedi. Darth Plato says, I disagree with Robert Meyer Burnett. Well, honestly, guys, how can someone please tell me, please? I have a feeling that he has access to things that Jedis have because he has those holocrons. If he's not a Jedi, let's say he was not a former Jedi, and I'm fine either way. But if he's not a former Jedi, how did he get all those things? Was he from a family of dealers? Was he in the underground? Because I don't see a lot of people with a whole bunch of possessions.
Well, the temple's
like
right there on Coruscant, though, wasn't it? There was a war going on. I mean, he could have got this any number of ways. It's an interesting theory, though. That didn't occur to me, that he might be a Jedi, but maybe he lost people. I don't know what his motivations. I don't know where his hatred's coming from. I don't particularly care. I'm with it. Like I'm there for it. I want to find out what's driving his hatred. What's driving this wanton need to overthrow the Empire at all costs, even at the cost of the people that he's purportedly wanting to defend, and he's like, he doesn't give a shit. Yeah, people are going to suffer. I don't fucking care. I want to get rid of the Empire. And it's like, well, dude, that's kind of not the point. But he is almost, well, he's not almost. He is doing things to kick the anthill. He wants the Empire to come down. I don't know why. We'll find out.
And also, Mikey Lito says, by the way, Russ, R&B says, Robert Meyer Burnett says that was Star Wars Tel Aviv, not Star Wars Miami. Guys, I don't think it's Star Wars necessarily Tel Aviv or Miami. I think it's Star Wars Ibiza. So there you go, guys. Clearly, they would have EDM at a place like this. And
Star Wars Blackpool.
So it's just a lot of fun to talk about. Honestly, Nathan, yeah, we're not going to know his motivation right away, Nathan. And you make a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care. I want to find out.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they are taking their time to tell us these layers, Nathan, all these layers that we are peeling off so slowly. Darth Plato says that Vel has shown a track mind of indecision. Yeah, and she seems to be pretty much pushed around by Luthen. I don't think she's calling any shots. She looked like she was the leader. She's his cover for these missions. So
yeah, she is. Maybe she's ex-military, but I think you nailed it. I think she's in this for the girlfriend. I don't think it's a fight she would have particularly got into had she by choice. I think she's following her heart, but her girlfriend is ruthless.
Yeah, she really is. She's like, for the cause, F you. You were great, but you're not the greatest, which is essentially what that means, right? Gary Vanda Sandwich Worthington says, Ibiza for sure, Cafe Mambo. I will see you there, Gary.
Yeah.
And it says, Mikey Lito says, if she's indecisive, she may be Andor's sister, family resemblance. Everybody wants to know who Andor's sister is and where she is. And I thought it was the shop girl. This is something I think we're all going to definitely enjoy when we find out, and maybe we won't find out about this. Darth Plato makes a point about Saw Gerrera in this series that he looks a lot better. He's not all messed up. He's he looks normal. But he is like, you know what? I know Saw might be the most informed person next to Luthen about what's going on. Now, I don't know why Saw Gerrera knows so much, but from the way he spoke, he was like, I'm not going to be fooled and pushed around again. And I already know everybody and anybody about what's going on. So you're not going to go ahead and push me around like this. I guess this article makes a joke about separatists, neo-Republican, the Gorman Front, Partisan Alliance, sectorist human cultists, and galaxy partionists, just to name a few of the ways that they're saying in an engaging scenery chewy moment, Saw slams them all as lost and asks Lucen where he stands. I'm a coward. I'm a man who's terrified the Empire's power will grow beyond the point where we can do anything to stop it, he says. I'm the one who says we'll die with nothing if we don't put aside our petty differences. And I guess he makes a good point in this, but you can't talk Saw into doing anything, guys. That man will not yield. He's not the kind of guy that you're going to be able to kind of, trick or do anything like that. Saw Gerrera knows what he's doing already. And I think that's why he was so dangerous and considered so controversial. Why was Luthen trying to get Saw to meet? Remember, Russ, he wanted him to meet with someone. What do
Yeah,
you think?
because they're both aware. Luthen is aware that there's all these groups, and this is what he's saying here. We have to put aside our differences because, like, you know, Saw's like, I'm not going to do anything with the human separatists or whatever it is. Those people are crazy, and he's like, well, if we don't join together, we've already lost. That's his point, and I think from Saw's perspective, like you say, he's not an idiot, and I think he's questioning, well, yeah, okay, this is wrong, but people are going to. You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, but it seems that Luthen is intent on picking up the entire carton of eggs and smashing them on the floor to get what he wants. And I think Saw is wary of that. And Saw has his own goals and his own objectives, and maybe he just wants them out of his sector, out of his system, off his planet, whatever. Yeah, Better Call Saw. Dude, I don't know. I don't know. It's just so gripping. There's so much going on, especially in the last episode. It went from scene to scene to scene, scene to scene to scene. So, and you were following all of these characters. And what it does so well is you might want Luthen to succeed, but you kind of also want Cyril to get where he wants to go, and you kind of want Dedra to find out who's fucking things up. She, you want her to catch these people because she's so well done. She's so dedicated. She's such a and it's very early Game of Thrones, isn't it? Like you just pick a side. Who's your favorite? There's no one truly good. There's no one really truly evil. These are just people who have their own goals, on objectives, and we're with them for it. Well, I'm certainly with them for it. On every episode, I I I know they're going to give us a cliffhanger, and I kind of that means yes, more Andor, but I would love to see this story concluded and find out what happens. But I guess we're not going to find out what happens. Oh man, um, who knew? Who knew that Disney Star Wars could have pulled it out of the bag like this? And I think it's been identified that because it's as far and away from Disney as you can get. It was all shot here in Great Britain, and I think in Northern Ireland, and some in Eastern in Europe. Um, and it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. It's not done under the auspices of Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. It's a bit kind of BBC, isn't it? In a way, it's like a bit of a BBC drama. It's not slick and bright like Mandalorian and Boba Fett and things like that. It sort of looks like kind of grey and grainy and shit, a bit like England, really. And it has that sort of British feel to it. I don't know, man. I love it. I love it.
It is amazing. And of course, there were Easter eggs which we kind of mentioned about him saying his name is Keith Gurga, which did sound like Grief Karga. For those of you who watched The Mandalorian, it was oddly similar. Therefore, it was fully intentional. Bix, the character that obviously had a little romance, a little foray with Andor, who tried to reach out to Luthen, makes this distress call. And we all know she's going to get picked up and get captured by the Empire. We all knew that.
Oh no, I didn't. Oh man, I had that bit was just great. That was like proper full on. It really looked like a reference to those people in Germany in the 1930s. That bit, and he's looking at his chart, and he looks up and he says, "You're Bix, aren't you?" and like the Scottish guy, the other guy's next to her, and he's going, "You gotta go, you gotta go," and get her, and she's running through the streets, and it was, and the stormtroopers are shoving people out of the way. I was like, wow. And then you had that whole bit in they'd been torturing the one guy, and I think what Deirdre's doing in the scene, because the Imperial officer says, "Should we get rid of him?" And Deirdre's like, "No, I want this next one to see him."
Mm-hmm.
And Bix is brought in by the Imperials, and then she turns around and says, "What the hell are you doing? Get him out of here!" And he says, and then she's all smiles, "Oh, hello, Bix, have a seat." And it's almost like she's going to try and get her with honey as opposed to torture initially. I know she puts her in the chair, but it's not like we've seen any torturing going on. So I think she's going to be, no, 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 no. I'm here to help you. I think maybe that's the play she's going to do with Bix. But you know what? Again, I don't know.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. We also, and that was very, very clever that they did that. We also learn a little bit more about Mon Mothma, that she and her husband were married at the age of 15, and she became a senator at 16. Now that woman can't be over. She couldn't be, let's say, more than 40, and that would be on the much older side, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But she's been with him for a good portion of her adult life. And, I think it's very interesting that they mentioned how young she got married. So even in the Star Wars universe, you can get married as a teenager. But I think one other thing that I realized after watching this episode was how alone Mon Mothma is. I don't feel like Luthen has her back. I don't feel like anybody has her back. Is there anybody who really has any loyalties to Mon Mothma?
No, not at all. She's stuck her neck out, and people are sort of deserting her in droves. Even the banker dude sort of like hasn't come through in the way that we thought, and I think that was done to sort of illustrate that she's gonna, she's in a little bit of trouble here. I thought it was interesting that they did mention the fact about the arranged marriage and how young they were, but also how they're still aristocrats. So if she's a senator since she's 16, then that suggests to me, like the Organas, and now the Mothmas, it's not something that you get kind of voted in to do. It's something that you're born to. You're born into this sort of senatorial class. So for all their, and because whoever's writing this, they're sly. I think that's a little bit of a comment. These do-gooders, they're doing all that, but they're still the aristocracy. They're born into this. This is their world. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yes. And, one other thing that happened was when Mon Mothma was at this party at her house. And first of all, like I said, this is one of those parties that everybody wants to be at. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get invited to this party at Mon Mothma's place. And everybody is talking about how pleasant it is and how beautiful it is to stare out in the screen, and how people are spending more time in Coruscant and stuff like that. I think it's very interesting because essentially the only person who isn't saying that is pretty much Mon Mothma. She is keeping everybody happy, and she has those squiggly squirrel, whatever those things are, those little squirrely things to put in everybody's drink, because everybody likes to drink this drug or whatever it is. But she can't partake because she's so on edge. She's so, frazzled by everything that's going on, that she can't do that. She
Well,
has
she
to
can't
say,
afford to make a mistake. If she make a mistake, she's dead. Her family's dead. She, I guess, sees the emperor, not necessarily the empire, but the emperor for who he is. She knows that he is malevolent and a force for evil, and she knows that what will happen to her and her husband. All right, maybe the marriage is on the rocks or whatever, or maybe there's no real love there, but she still doesn't want him to be tortured and killed, and certainly not her daughter. I think the daughter might have a bigger role, as somebody said earlier on, whether as a rebel or whether as a betrayer. Well, Tom Junior Jackson says he has a crush on Bix. Well, you're only human, mate. We all have a crush on Bix.
And hello, Mario Lopez. He says, "Hi, everybody. I can't see the show today. Going out in a few minutes." Well, you go out, Mario Lopez, and you enjoy the rest of your
Catch
day.
it in a rerun, Mario.
Absolutely. Certainly enjoy it. But yes, this is something to think about. people getting married, this whole, and hello, Bloodsport one. Hello to you. So glad that you are here. Certainly, we do see that it was important to see that, Russ, because you're right. She was born into it. And yes, Darth Leto, Tom has a big fix.
Absolutely.
She was born into this. She had no way to kind of like counteract it or not do it. This was going to be her life, whether she liked it or not. Now, the other thing that I was going to say is getting back to Mon Mothma. It says she's talking to her husband as Tay Kolma, who's that really handsome guy she grew up with, right?
The
Um,
banker, yeah.
and he informs her alone that there is trouble in gathering funds, and it's her money. She talks about how it's 400,000 or five hundred
Well, it's
thousand
four hundred
dollars,
thousand, yeah.
and she learns, that the emperor is going to pass more laws. What you were talking about, Russ, about a prosecution without any limit. And is this the first time? Is this the first time that we've heard the name? I'm not going to. This is going to become very Harry Potterish. The name that shall not be said, or whatever. But we haven't really heard his name before. She says Palpatine, just as if it was an ordinary name.
The ISB officer in the last episode, not the Grand Maester, but the guy that's normally there, his boss, and he said, "I've just spoken to Emperor Palpatine," and blah blah blah. So I think they're trying to sort of normalize it a little bit, because these are the dudes that deal with him. Imperial intelligence. The head of that would obviously be dealing with the Emperor. The senators have to deal with the Emperor, right? So I'm sure he'll make an appearance. I'm sure.
Absolutely. And certainly it's something that should not have been a surprise. But later on in the episode, Mon Mothma is kind of looking for the banker, because she still hasn't resolved this. This isn't
Yeah.
resolved. She still needs to get that money. And honestly, he left the party probably because he's so damn scared for his life.
Yeah, maybe wouldn't it be a plot twist if the one man she trusts betrays her?
you know, as I said, they are very intimate, very close. She just trusted him with something that would surely get her and her family killed. And
Mm.
he came by to tell her this very important bit of information. Look, he can't get the money. And I think this is going to push her towards Luthen more now, because Luthen seems to be able to get the money. I mean, mind you, it was a very dangerous mission and people died for it, as Mon Mothma is very famous
It
for
was,
saying so.
yeah, the Boston spies and all that, but it was dangerous for everybody apart from Luthen. Really, nobody knows who he is. They've got really no idea. Cassian Andor has no idea who the guy is, only that he's a rebel. You know,
Yes.
so I just love the idea. This guy is like, he's fucking ruthless. Like, he has this guy and he will sacrifice pawns to achieve it. And he seems to realize that this is a necessary part of the war. Like, yes, people will die. Sacrifices will have to be made. Oh man, it's great.
And the shopkeeper seems to call him out for slipping. She says, he was like, well, we have to speak to them. And she's like, and you're slipping. You're not astute enough. And I think she was right on this one, because if she had answered Bix's call, the Empire would be
Would have
on
had them.
their
They'd have had
doorstep,
them.
right? Certainly that was a close
But
one.
our room, it plays back into this thing. Like, if his partner in the shop is calling him out, that whole episode was kind of like him really pushing to get the big explosion, the Rebel Alliance to happen, a big push against the Empire, and like everyone's calling him out on it. The girl in the shop, So Guerrera is calling him out. It's like, dude, no, we're not ready for this, and he's so desperate. He's desperate for this cataclysm to begin. I don't know why.
And Bloodsport 1 is asking me if I'm going to the Halloween parade in Greenwich Village. I don't think I'm going to be going to it this year, but maybe next year. I wasn't planning. I didn't know what things were going to turn out like, Bloodsport 1. So I hadn't planned on going, but I will definitely go next year. Are you going, Bloodsport 1? And if so, what are you going to dress up as a specific character? Something to think about. Nathan Trujillo says there needs to be a scene with Palpatine and Mon Mothma that would be intense. We are all anticipating that scene, and only God knows what she would be talking to him about. But I have a feeling they've spoken before. And it might have been before he had this conversion. And of course, the conversion I'm talking about, Russ, is that famous, confrontation he had with Mace Windu and with Anakin, where he physically transforms, where he looks very different. He looked like a normal person before that, transformation. And now, he looks different. He wears the cloak over his face.
Yeah, because he calls it out in Revenge of the Sith, doesn't he? Like, I've been disfigured. They attacked me. They tried to murder me. Look at the state of me. This is what the Jedi have done to me, and all that kind of thing. Um, oh yeah, that's a
Yes.
good point, Tom.
Yeah, I hope we see it. I imagine we would. Obviously, the Senate's still there, but it looked a little empty the last time we saw it, didn't it? It wasn't packed. I don't know how full the Senate is supposed to be, but honestly, it was something to see. Now, oh, he will be there in costume. You will be a demon. Oh, I'm sorry, Bloodsport one, that I won't be able to see it. Oh my gosh, but it sounds so exciting. I have a feeling you're going to have a great time as that as a demon Bloodsport one. Also, Jerry Minoza reminds us that the Rebels is in the same time frame as Andor, which is it's a animated series on Disney Plus. So if you haven't seen Rebels, you should probably check it out. There's a lot of very interesting information in that.
Is there,
Especially,
as a bigger Star Wars fan than myself, I never really kept up with the Clone Wars animated stuff. Are there any links between that show and this one?
well, only the Rebel show is at the same time.
But there's no sort of crossover of characters or anything like that.
Well, I'm trying to remember who was in Rebels. I know that uh the guy who adopts Princess Leia is in Rebels.
Bail
Bail
Organa.
Organa is in
Yeah,
it,
but he's
and
not been in this so far, has he?
he has not, but he's there.
Mm.
But maybe he spends more of his time on Alderaan. Um, Let me think. I have to look at it again because I can't remember
Mm.
offhand. What I
Sure,
can
sure, sure.
say, I'm sorry.
Sure. So I didn't want to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. What I can say is that there is another series that was released. We don't have time to talk about it in detail, but it's called Tales of the Jedi. And maybe we can talk about it next week. But did you get a chance to see Tales of the Jedi, Russ?
No, you text me about it. I said I've never even heard of it. What is it?
It is an animated series put out by Disney Plus,
Hmm.
and the series deals with mainly, well, obviously Jedi, but a lot of information about Ahsoka and Count Dooku. And it's really, I think, a series that a lot of people would enjoy. I'm not going to necessarily go too deep into it, but here is an article that I'm pulling up about it, another CNET article. And it first of all, one of the things that I like about it is that they use the original actress who did the voice acting for Ahsoka. Her name is Ashley Eckstein, and she is actually the voice of Ahsoka in the Tales of the Jedi series. So there's that.
Sign me up. I'll try and check it out.
I think you would like it.
I don't think I'm going to be able to check out Clone Wars or anything like that because that goes on for sort of like 50 years, doesn't it? So, but this one I will try and check it out.
Well, it just started, and it's only about 8 episodes, and they're about 20 minutes each. And they say that it's Tales of the Jedi represents a branch of George Lucas's original vision. Actors Ashley Eckstein and Corey Burton talk about returning as Ahsoka Tano and Dooku. And we actually learn a lot about Dooku. And there is one thing in it, I don't know whether I should say, that happens with Dooku, but it's really important. And I'm not going to say what he does in it.
Mm.
But what I am going to say is that I think everybody should watch it. I think it's a great series. This is sort of the promo poster for it. I gave it a thumbs up. because I liked it so much. I thought that there was some interesting bits of information in it. There's actually something that's really important that happens, and I always wanted to know. Nathan Trujillo, by the way, says that Saw is the only crossover that you were
Thanks,
referring
Nathan.
to, Russ. Um, I don't remember every character and everything that happened in each one, but
I was just wondering because someone mentioned it, and I'm thinking, are the Gilroys, are they leaning into any of that stuff, or are they kind of like leaving that as the Favreau verse sort of thing? And yes, that's kind of going on, but we're not gonna lean into that. We're gonna keep it movie focused, kind of thing.
yes, for certainly. Well, I guess they're leaning into more things than just the movies, and obviously, it's going to be television show and animated going forward. And I think we're going to see a lot of these animated parts. And well, what Mikey Lito is saying is not a spoiler, because I promise I'm not doing any spoilers for Tales of the Jedi. I only have the ones up for Andor, but Mikey Lito mentions that he's only seen the first two episodes. And it's interesting since Dooku turns to the dark side. Of course, we all knew this. Dooku used to be a light force Jedi or light side Jedi now, and then he turns into the dark side. And I thought that that was very interesting, that they show part of his journey, and we've never learned anything about him. And for me, at least, one thing that was very important that it showed was that Dooku saw the Jedi really as his family, and I think that that was something that was very important to him. And for his transition to leave that, that must have been maybe one of the biggest and most, traumatic things for him in his life.
Yeah, I kind of got the impression, and this might be expanded universe stuff, and I don't remember where I heard or read this, but it's almost say yes, he does use the dark side of the Force, but it's more that the Jedi are not what the Jedi purport that they should be. They've become these sort of political players and interventionists, and that's not the point of it. It's almost like he's turned against the Republic and what it stands for, and the Jedi and what they stands for, because he thinks that it's not right. That was the kind of impression of Dooku that I got. Not that he was like cackling evil like Palpatine, but more no, this is not the way things should be. Well, we have to do something about that. But that path inevitably leads him to working with Palpatine, or with Chief Palpatine, soon to be the Emperor, Darth Sidious.
Absolutely. We do know that he does become one of Palpatine's most important um, uh, team members, or let's say apprentice. I think he does become his apprentice
He
for a
does, yeah. But as soon as Palpatine finds a younger, hotter apprentice, Dooku goes,
sexier.
yeah, sexier.
Sexier.
Dooku goes the way of the birds, unfortunately, for him.
And Woodrow, right before we're about to wrap this show up, everybody, Woodrow's here. Hello, Woodrow. Says Tails had a Yoda hair on it. Tails had a Yoda hair, leaving hope for a greasier baby Yoda in the future. Okay.
Greasy with a duck's ass haircut, like he's in the 50s in the biker jacket.
Oh, I
Danny
see.
Zuko Yoda, be awesome.
Well, that is something to think about. Everybody who is here today, I just want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson for modding for us today. Certainly, and my final words about Tales of the Jedi is yes, please do check out Tales of the Jedi.
I will try. I'll try my best. I
It's not a
want to
long
check
watch.
out Interview with the Vampire. That's what I want.
Yes.
I want to see. I haven't. You know what? And I haven't heard anything about this show. Like it's kind of been released, or it's out now, isn't it? And no one seems to be talking about it. Have you seen it, Aram?
I've seen a few episodes of Interview with the Vampire, and I think that if you're not fine with the implication of the relationship between Louis and Lestat, then going further, then you may not like it. Honestly, another thing that I was going to say is that it was implied when they went to see Antonio Banderas
Mm.
in Spain or Europe or wherever they were, probably
Paris,
Paris.
wasn't it?
And
Yeah.
honestly, Antonio Banderas was so sexy in that film
Mm.
that I think I think if he played the perfect vampire because wasn't even trying to be sexy. Like it was disturbing how sexy Antonio Banderas was in that film.
Hmm.
So I was just, I still can remember his dark, dark, dark hair and his just, I don't know, come hither stare. I don't even know what it was. Like all his other vampire friends were there and they did what they had to do and kill off this person. And we're like, we're so sorry. Oh, ha, ha, ha. But when Antonio Banderas walked into the room, it was like game over, Louis. You shouldn't walk away from this man. But
Yeah, I've got no problem with that relationship, and it was implied in the books and everything like that. But I actually want to see if it's good. Is all that stuff in there just because they could? I mean, that they've race swapped Louis, haven't they? For reasons, and I don't know what those reasons
I don't know
are.
what they are either.
Like Louis was a slave owner, so it would be unlikely that he would be a person of color at that time being a slave owner. So I imagine that that's completely changed. So it'd be interesting to see have they just gone. I'm beginning to hate the sound of the word. Have they just wokeified it for shits and giggles because they could, or is there actually a point to all of this, and is it a decent story? And I'd
Well,
like to see it.
they changed the timeline too. It
Oh,
should have been much earlier, and it's in the 1900s, and I'm not happy about that either. But I think it would have been more interesting if it was in the 1900s and it was in Europe instead. But they wanted it to be, I think, either in Memphis or Louisiana, which is fine. But I think I would have preferred to have seen him overseas in a more realistic way,
it's New
rather
Orleans. He was in New Orleans, wasn't it? I mean, I saw Anne Rice's house, which looks like something that a vampire would live in.
than.
In New Orleans, and I went to the cemetery and all of that stuff. It was like it's quite funny. Remember reading the books when they're talking about all of these places, and there you are, like walking through them. But it does sound to me like this might just be another Rings of Power stunt thing. Oh, we're doing it because because we could, and we need more representation. We need more of this. But I don't know. It might be great, and I haven't seen it yet. And I don't want Mikey Leto coming for me saying, watch it first and form opinion and all that
Too
stuff. I
late.
haven't. Oh
Too
shit.
late.
Shit. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I do want to see it because I love a vampire story. I mean, I'm all about underworld and all of that stuff. So I want to check it out, and I hope it's good. But you're not selling me on it so far.
Well, I wasn't necessarily. Oh, okay. Oh, we have Lorena Creole who is here with us. Hi, Lorena. Lorena says, I've watched 3 episodes of the new Interview with a Vampire and I don't recommend it.
I turned on a stream the other day and I saw Lorena has amazingly beautiful hair. Like she changed your hair. It looks absolutely fantastic. I loved it. So top draw.
Well, certainly thank you, Lorena, for letting us know. As I had said before, I personally don't know why they changed it, and the setting is off to me. But here Lorena goes on to say it feels very little like Anne Rice's version and more of an activist version. Well, well,
Well,
well. I think we all have our answer right there. Um, that's unfortunate. And something that they said, and I'm sure Lorena can concur with this, is that they made Lestat, or at least someone who I think is Lestat, convince Louis to be with him because he's supposed to be so fantastic, even though everybody else thinks he's dirt because he's a black man at a time when there is oppressive, regime, let's say, in
so
the United States.
I'm
I'm not
gathering
going to
from
say
that they're
the
making
R word.
statements. Are they? Are they
Yeah,
making statements? Are
I
they?
am not going to say the R word on this channel, but
Hmm.
that's what the show seemed to implicate as to why he must be with this man. And I can see him convincing him of that. But honestly, I don't know whether they could convince viewers of that. So it's different when it is deviating from the source material, Jerry. And Bloodsport one says, Chris or Antonio? It's always going to be Antonio for me. Okay. So there you have your answer. Um, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Russ, where can people find you?
Well, I can be found here most Sundays, and it's only a pleasure. It's only the truth as well, Lorena. I can be found here mostly on a Sunday. I apologise for being late today. As I say, the clocks went back and or forward or whichever direction they went, and I missed the first couple of minutes of the show. I apologise for that. You can see my 1,000 year out of date website at russellwhitfield.com, or contact at russellwhitfield.com is my email address. But more importantly, where can we find you, RM?
I'm going to tell you just 1 second. And Lorena has concurred with me. She says, yes, it's heavy into Jim Crow South. And Lestat's attitudes is extremely condescending. And honestly, yeah, I agree, Lorena. That's the last thing I want to see of, a fantasy vampire story in Jim Crow South. I'm sorry, but that's not entertaining for me. It's clearly made to tell us, to inform us on stuff we already know, but to
Okay.
force it on other people, let the guilt train and the guilt ride for people who don't
Could I
deserve
just
it.
could I
That's
just
what we're
ask,
about.
is this show not for me? Is that what you guys are saying? Was it not written for me?
If
I'm
you
not.
don't want to see about that, no, it's not. I don't know who it's for,
Another one of those. Okay.
but I
Well,
am going
I'm
to.
going to check it out. I'm going to check it out. I'm gonna get a T-shirt with Mikey Leto's slogan on it, and I'm going to check that shit out. And hopefully before next week, maybe we can talk about it then. But hopefully we won't be talking about it then, because
Yes,
hopefully there'll be more news about Zack Snyder, and there'll be more news
yes,
about Henry Cavill, and there'll be all of that stuff, and we'll forget all about Interview with the Vampire.
yes.
But as I said, more importantly, where can we find you, RM?
Guys, you can find me right here on Positive Fandom, my YouTube channel. Please do like and subscribe and watch the videos. I am this close to monetization, literally this. You can actually see that much to monetization. Really, only a few more hours to go. So, thank you for all of you who have supported me and for the donations today. I certainly do appreciate it. Also, you can find me here on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. for Sunday brunch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Where we do all the parlay in the fandom. On Mondays, you can find me on Ladies of the PGS at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Post Geek Singularity channel. You can also find me on Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels on the 1/6 Scale Man Network. I also stream on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on Lorena Creole's Twitch channel for our show, Toxic Male Appreciation, which will have a restream today on YouTube at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Lorena's YouTube channel. So if you want to watch our special on Matt Smith, you can do that in about a half an hour. You can also find me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre at 12 p.m. Eastern. And on the weekends, you can find me sometimes either on Friday or Saturday on Midnight Musings with Robert Meyer Burnett on the Post Geek Singularity. So, guys, please do check out all the shows and like and subscribe. Thank you for all your support, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people, guys. Certainly that. And I promise you, Mike Alito, when Lorena and I watch The Woman King, we will give you our opinion. And Tom Jr. Jackson says to also remember that there's a Let's Get Physical Media at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today on the Post Geek Singularity. Everybody, I have to say, thank you so much for watching. It's always a pleasure to have you all here. And for everybody, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always do remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm going to play my promo.